successful individual, the great Andrew Siciliano, the new voice of your Cleveland Browns, especially Lindsay's Cleveland Browns, joins us. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Greetings, guys. Sorry, I sent it to voicemail twice. It was just like a random 2 and 3. I'm in the middle of. I totally forgot I was coming on, and I'm happy to be there and happy to be with you, but I forgot about it. And then you get like random. I mean, how often does your phone ring with like spam calls every day? I don't recognize the number. I sent it to voicemail twice.
Wow, really? I think what we should start doing is
we
should start. No, it's okay.
Well, what I do when I'm helping produce is I text them and say, "Hey, it's going to be a 213 number."
Okay, here's another idea.
Don't go after Lindsay right now.
Not Lindsay. I was going after Funches.
Usually I send a text the day of, but since we just set it up yesterday, I figured it was not necessary. So maybe that's my fault.
Okay, but let me ask everybody a question.
I'm sorry.
I did not know that.
But I did not know that. That is wild. But let me ask you a question. See, for me, I live by the calendar on my phone. So if somebody were to send me a calendar invite, then I wouldn't forget.
So
okay. A calendar invite.
You didn't have
Andrew,
to do that. No,
yeah. I feel like that's excessive.
Also, but Kaplan, I don't get annoyed, but like there are things for which I'm like a calendar invite is unnecessary.
You think this is
like
unnecessary?
To me, this is one of them. But I dropped the ball. I should have remembered or wrote it down. And let's get to the lead. Is Morales wearing a tracksuit like he's Michael Imperioli right now?
No.
Oh, good question.
Good question.
Very fair question.
Unfortunately, I'm a little out of the tracksuit, shape right now.
It's too bad because then you could be saying things like, "That's right, T."
Andrew remembers those days when we were all saying, "That's right, T."
That's right, T. We're going to go get a little buffalo mozzarella, T.
First of all, I didn't think there was such a thing as out of tracksuit shape.
Well, the tracksuits aren't fitting the way. They fit a little too much like Jersey and not enough like L.A. at the moment. But we're working on that.
I gotcha.
You know what I'm saying, right?
But they probably are really nice and comfortable, too. You know
Sometimes,
what I mean?
yeah,
So
they can be
then
cozy. You go free.
They're great for traveling.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Andrew Siciliano, of course, legendary as the original host of the Red Zone channel, now your voice of the Cleveland Browns. And this is very much, I remember working with Andrew 20 years ago and always talking about being an NFL play-by-play guy. So we've been talking about on the radio station all week about how happy we are, all of us, for you, and congratulations on that. And,
Thank you.
The Browns games are heard on ESPN Cleveland, WKNR, the Good Karma Brands radio station, along with 92.3 The Fan. So, Andrew.
Hey, you know that Riz does like the pregame show for those, right?
Oh, we love Riz, too. You like Riz, Siciliano?
Always a fan. Fan of the entire crew. Can I take this moment, though, to say something?
Go ahead.
I have been meaning to post something on the IG or the socials, the Twitter or whatever. I haven't yet done it. I was actually planning to do it tomorrow. I was trying to find the words, but now that I am on 710, obviously, you're home for your Los Angeles Rams. I wanted to say thank you to the Rams and the organization. I've thanked most people in the organization, but them and the fans as well, specifically, because I've been doing Rams games for 14 years, all the way back to St. Louis, preseason only. But obviously, they are family. They are home. This is home. And I want to say, it's been a great ride. You guys are still in my heart. I love you all. The fans here in L.A. are awesome. I think this team has a bright future this year. But more importantly, thank you, Rams fans, for making it so much fun. I had that much fun being part of the Ramley, still part of the Ramley, but obviously professional duties take me elsewhere.
Since you mentioned that, Andrew, I'd love for you, we were just about to have this conversation before you came on, but, as much success as the Rams and Sean McVay specifically have had against Arizona, this weekend has me very nervous because, look, you can have a great quarterback and you can have a great wide receiver and you can have some young up-and-coming defensive players, but here's the bottom line for me. If you don't have an offensive line, you're not likely going to be able to run the ball. And if you can't protect your quarterback, a 36-year-old quarterback at that, you're going to have a hard time. Now, I don't know that Arizona's got some fierce pass rush, but the Rams' offensive line has me very worried going into this game. What do you say?
I agree. When you go into a game, as they did last week, without 2 offensive linemen, and then you lose 3 more, that's bad math. So the fact that they were in this game last week, the fact that they pushed it to overtime, the fact that they won the coin toss, they could have actually won it in overtime, I think is a credit to both Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. Some of the balls Matthew was throwing last week were just, it was clinic. It was masterful. You can put it in Canton. So the fact that they got through that game and almost won it, hats off to them. But then they're reshuffling again this week. It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable and confident that Rob Havenstein is coming back. You're facing a team that can't stop the run. I mean, they last year as bad as it gets. Last week they gave up 130 on the ground to the Bills. Buffalo not exactly a run-first team. But the center of that line, with Bo Limber now as a sixth-round rookie, going to be your center. What does that look like? He performed well enough last week, and they loved him during the preseason, so much so he didn't play in the third preseason game. That to me is a concern. Because you could say Kyren ran for 300 in 2 games last year against the Rams, against the Cardinals, and you blew them out. You won each game by at least 17. That's fine, but you got to be able to get that push up front, and that's my concern this week.
On Sunday night, the Rams defense crumbled at the end. I mean, Cappy could have run through that in overtime.
They were dead. They were dead tired.
They were dead. They were gassed.
Yeah.
And I might have been fresh at that point.
You might have been.
You know.
So if Kyler's running around on Sunday, and there's a slight chance the Rams go 0-2 for the home opener at SoFi.
Against San Francisco.
Against San Francisco, no less. Is there panic in the streets, Andrew?
No, I don't think there's panic in the streets. First of all, I do think they win this game. I think one of the more fascinating angles is the first time against Kyler, now that Kyler's truly healthy, because I don't think the second time, you look when he came back last year. First one was Josh Dobbs, second one. I mean, he was back from an injury, but not truly himself. This is the first one without Aaron Donald, though, to make his life miserable. I thought Jared Verse looked pretty darn good last week. I know different position, but he's still getting pushed up front, and he could chase him down. Braden Fisk, same thing. So that, to me, is interesting. I don't think there's any panic. I mean, look what this team did, the losing streak they had midseason, then they kicked it into gear last year, down the stretch. I'm not convinced, and I actually think the Niners lose this week in Minnesota. That's just me.
It's actually not that much of an unpopular pick, believe it or not. A lot of people seem to think Minnesota has a real chance to win that game. Okay, so listen, I'm not super confident in the Rams this week. I'm confident in coaching. I'm confident in quarterbacking. I actually was also really shocked. A guy named Tyler Johnson made a monster play in the game last week. And I had to go look him up. I'm like, where'd he come from? I don't remember his name very much in the preseason. I don't remember him being mentioned when we were out at training camp. Got anything on him?
Yeah, Tyler Johnson's been around now for 2 years. I mean, former Buccaneer. He's a veteran wide receiver. They brought him and DeMarcus Robinson kind of in at the same time. And it was DeMarcus who got the majority of the snaps in the production. But, second year in the system, he's a veteran. I thought as much as his catch and run looked nice, the fact that they were keeping him in the backfield and helping protect when the line went to the sideline and went to the training room last week. The fact that they helped there, or they had him helping there, I think speaks a lot to how much Sean has faith in him. And I also think it opens up, a bigger conversation here as well. Blake Corum didn't get in there last week, and I think it was more an issue of the O-line injuries, and do you trust a rookie back when it comes to protection when your O-line has broken down that much? Do you see more DeMarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson this week than you would see a Jordan Whittington or a Blake Corum, simply because, you got to protect that 36-year-old quarterback?
You were asked earlier, Chris asked you about, starting 0-1. Could it be 0-2? Might it be 0-3? Could it be 1-2? Whatever. But you had an interesting thing. I was telling Chris, I love what you're doing with these beach walk-in talks. And you had a point today.
Is that the official name, the beach walk-in
I don't know. What do you have a name for this series?
I don't. But I mean, I'm open to ideas. It's just me walking up and down the Strand here, kind of getting thoughts out, while people play beach volleyball in the background, and others sit on their porches and walk their dogs and stare at me and think to themselves, why is this dude talking to his phone?
I don't know, man, but I love this series. But I thought it was an interesting thing today. Maybe you could fill in some details. If you start out 0-1, that's not some major problem in terms of missing the postseason. But starting out 0-2, that could be more of a much bigger problem. What were the numbers that you threw out there today?
So I honestly think, I'll give you the numbers, but like big picture here. So we always go back to 1990. During the current playoff format, we say, when you look at the historical perspective for making the playoffs and how you start a season. But now we have 14, and the majority of those years back to 1990, we only had 12 teams in the postseason. So I think the numbers kind of need a little more context and a little more time here with the 14 games to truly see some trends. But historically, 0-2, I'm sorry, 1-1. I'm sorry. Okay, let me start this again. 0-1, you still have a 25% chance of making the playoffs. 1 out of every 4 teams that opened 0-1 since 1990 still went on to make the playoffs. Now, if you go 0-2, the number goes from 25 down to like 11.5. So that's a big hit if you go 0-2. But 0-1 is not the end of the world. There were 4 teams that made the playoffs, all in the AFC, coincidentally, that opened 0-1 last year. So it is not the end of the world. And a lot of coaches will tell you that, week 1 is a liar, week 2 tells the truth, right? And the old adage, you improve the most from week 1 to week 2 than you do at any point in the season. I don't know if I totally buy that, but I do think that there's so much overreaction. We all agree after week 1 that you just kind of got to pump your brakes and catch your breath and see what it looks like week number 2.
See, Cappy, just calm down. Pump the brakes.
All right, I'll pump.
Well, yeah,
he doesn't believe that because Jim Harbaugh says that, so he's not buying it.
Well, I don't want to believe it because I don't want to overreact to a win.
Look, Cincinnati lost at home, okay, with Gerard Mayo and the Patriots coming to town that some people thought they were going to have the first overall pick. So Joe Burrow is back and healthy, right? And he had an entire training camp, and they lost at home. So, I mean, think of how they're feeling there, just in comparison. It's still Joe Burrow. They're going to be fine. Now, they could open 0-2 because they can go to Kansas City this week and lose to the Chiefs, and then we have to look at it, maybe through a different lens. But historically, the Bengals start slowly, and then they pick it up and they kick it into gear. So, 0-1 is not the end of the world.
The great Andrew Siciliano, that voice when you hear it. So you're going to be spending more time in Cleveland now that you are the official voice of the Cleveland Browns and the Cleveland Browns radio network. And producer Lindsay always brings this up about Cleveland, so I'll let Lindsay set this up.
Well, I always say my favorite. Someone asked me what's your favorite thing to eat in Cleveland? I said my favorite place is Barrio. They're my favorite tacos. Granted, it's not like authentic Mexican food. It's like street tacos, whatever. But I get ripped so bad all the time, Andrew, because everyone's like, there's no way that there could be good tacos in Cleveland. That can't be possible. So what do you think? Have you been to Barrio? You had to have been there, right?
Okay, so I haven't been, but I will say this. Cleveland has a great food scene. It truly does. Now, it's a different food scene. I'd like to think that L.A. is as good a restaurant town as there is on earth, truly. I mean, our diversity, the size of our region, you could get great food on the beach. You can get great food in the valley. You can get great food in any valley, actually. I love L.A. as a restaurant town. I will put it up against any town on earth. Cleveland is also a very good town when it comes to food. It's just different and smaller. But no, where's Barrio? I need to go.
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you this, that when I was there in Cleveland about a year ago, my son was playing in a college football game against a school called Notre Dame College.
Uh-huh.
And I got done with that game, and Lindsay told me, you got to go try this Barrio place. So I went, and I tried it, and it's aight. It's okay.
Just aight.
Great. Wasn't terrible. It's aight.
There's a bunch of them, Andrew, but there's one downtown right on East 4th.
Okay. Well, that's easy.
Yeah, so you can go to
that's
that
walking
one.
Distance.
I mean, it's like a known place, and they got really good margaritas.
They got that weird thing that they do where they, put the meat in Coca-Cola and they make the meat.
The Coca-Cola marinated steak?
Yes.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Our P1 listeners are beginning to tweet
Right.
away.
I'm
Wait,
sure.
have you guys never made, pulled pork in a crock pot with, Dr. Pepper or something?
No.
That's
The
a thing.
answer's 100%
Oh,
no.
That's a thing.
My rabbi would kill me.
Yeah,
That's
Cap's
the
not
thing.
doing
You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, last thing, Andrew, for me is...
Hold on. Wait. Notre Dame College. Was Jaleel McLaughlin in that game?
I don't recall Jaleel McLaughlin.
Okay.
I only remember this kid named Justin Kaplan. Otherwise, I wasn't really watching much of the game.
Because the Broncos running back, Jaleel McLaughlin, right, who's splitting time with Javonte Williams, fantasy experts, go get Jaleel McLaughlin. He started at Notre Dame College and ran for 5,000 yards in 2 seasons, something like that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, and it's so funny because when my friends are like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to see my son play in a football game this weekend. They're like, oh, really? Who are they playing? I'm like, they're playing Notre Dame. He's like, your son is playing against Notre Dame? I'm like, yeah, Notre Dame College of Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, it's not exactly South Bend. You know what I'm saying?
It's like South Bend, but different.
Right.
So, Andrew, earlier this summer at our Mandy Awards, Mandy's 3, thousands of our listeners vote on these best, show, best this, whatever. I won Personality of the Year for the second year in a row, but I also won the inaugural Most Hated Personality, and I want to tribute you to this.
How does that work?
I don't know, but 22 years ago, you taught me, as we worked together on the old Fox Sports Radio morning show together, that it was okay to be really good at what we do and to be hated doing it by listeners because they're going to keep listening every day. And they do listen every day, even though they hate us. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
So you're telling me that you're a hate listen and I taught you how to do that?
Not so much a hate listen. Like, some people hate us, but even the ones that hate us really love us because they voted me most hated. I beat Cappy and Sedano out for that award.
Which I don't like that. That bothers me.
What?
That you win all these awards.
You won Host of the Year 2 years ago.
Right, but since then I've been like nothing. Nobody.
Last year we won Show of the Year this year.
Oh, that's true.
And are these voted on by the listeners?
Correct.
By the listeners, yeah.
Andrew, you should come to the Mandy's next year.
I'll come next year.
Dave
what's
McMenamin
the
was our
sample
special guest
size?
last year.
What's the sample size?
This year I think we got 10,000 votes total.
Okay. Wow.
So,
and
not
you
a
were
horrible
most
sound.
hated?
Most hated and Personality of the Year.
And those were different awards.
Different awards,
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think it's only because they didn't allow me to put my name in the hat for most hated.
Oh.
I think I would have won.
Ooh.
Possibly.
I think
Wow.
it's great that you can say that you came away with 2 trophies that night.
Actually, there we go.
Yeah. You know what
Yeah.
else he can say? Is that he stayed on the stage because at one point he got so drunk he almost fell right off of it.
Well, I had to host the show, too, and this year was without Keyshawn, so they threw me up there solo for 3 hours.
What do you mean? When Keyshawn hosted the show, you were still solo.
Well, he was drunk, more drunk than me.
Is that what he was? He was
I
drunk?
once fell off a stage for NFL Network, not drunk, quite the opposite. At the Minneapolis Super Bowl, just doing an afternoon show, and about a minute before air, it was like in the media center, which was actually the Mall of America that year, and we had like
I
this
remember
riser,
that.
Yeah, this riser that the set was on, and there was a riser directly next to it with maybe 8 inches between the 2 risers, and I thought it was one continuous platform, and my foot went right in between the 2, and basically I fell down to my knee, and that riser scraped up my leg, tore my suit up, and I needed stitches. But I went on the air 60 seconds later. With,
All I can say to that is
with a
riser,
wound that eventually required a trip to the hospital, and Brian Billick laughed his tail off at me.
Wow. Tough guy.
Yeah, you didn't realize he was a tough guy, did you?
Siciliano.
I once saw him with a tank top on in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
He's ripped.
No,
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Tank
like,
top?
yeah, you came out of the room, you like let me, or not a tank top, but like an undershirt. You know what I mean? Yeah.
An
like
A shirt, an A undershirt.
shirt.
As they
Yeah,
would
an A
describe it
undershirt,
at
not a
Target.
tank top. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad you don't own tank tops because that's a whole other story where I don't
like-
think that
No,
men
no,
should
no,
ever
that-
be
that
wearing
means-
tank tops, like ever, unless you're maybe at the beach or working out, but that's it.
What about like when Tyreek Hill was wearing one the
No.
other day? You don't
No,
like that look?
Can't do it.
Yeah, huh. Okay.
No,
The
no,
great
tank
Andrew
top
Sicil-
goes. Hold on,
Go
last
ahead.
thing. The tank top goes under your Michael Imperial sweatsuit.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go. See,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
I still wear the chains. You know that.
Yeah.
The great Andrew Siciliano, he's going to be at Jacksonville calling Browns Jags on Sunday, Week 2 NFL Sunday, the new voice of the Browns Radio Network. Congratulations, Andrew. By the way, Andrew has a meeting coming up with owner Sam Pines, and I've already told Sam this, and you could tell, Andrew, you could tell him this as well.
Okay.
When you want to retire from doing NFL games, maybe that's a long way away. You can always replace Cappy anytime you want.
Why
to.
me?
We're
not?
We're just.
Why
we're
not?
just
Why
two
not say
guys.
replace Sedano? He's not here.
But Sedano and
we're-
Siciliano once did a week of shows together.
I understand, but so what?
That was like 20 years ago.
Right.
What can you do?
Yeah.
I mean, how about
We're
say
just
Ireland?
2 guys getting a drink, and I'm like, it's just me telling him what I just told all the fans there. As like thrilled as I am, and I truly am thrilled because I'm a boyhood Browns fan, and I'm still the same height as I was when I started loving the Browns in 1985. Right? That as emotional as it is, and as happy as I am to have that job, both can be true. I'm also sad to leave the Rams. Both are true. Both are strong emotions. I love you both.
Well, we love you, Andrew. Take the rest of your Friday off. Have a great weekend. Enjoy
Yes.
Cleveland and Jacksonville on Sunday.
Thanks, Andrew. Congrats,
Goodbye.
man.
Congrats,
There you go.
Andrew.
Thanks.
You can rack them.
Thanks.